Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame. Today it's going to bring us another great guest and an inductee on October 26th, 2024, a couple Saturdays ago. Another great inductee has been inducted. His name, and he's to the right of me, is Anthony Tyler. Before I bring Anthony in and to ask him about this great career, again, I want to thank the board here at the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame, and of course our president, Paul Rowan, for always setting a time to do this with inductees such as Anthony, and every Saturday at this time at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Again, with little further ado left on this, I'd like to bring in Anthony Tyler. Anthony,
John,
welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in here today. And again, congratulations.
thank you
On winning this inductee.
Cool trophy.
Yeah, cool trophy. Love it. I
It's
mean,
already on my mantle.
yeah, I can imagine. And, make sure there's some weight to that mantle
It
because
is.
definitely. I got to tell you, the thing that impressed me the most, and I had heard about you over the years.
Four kids.
The four kids. Yeah, well, I got a little scared when cousin Uncle Jimmy and cousin Dottie were saying they're running around the bank.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, wait a minute, but then the four kids.
They're big. They're big.
Yeah, for sure. I got to tell you, the thing that impressed me the most was the nomination form. I got a hold of it from Paul Rowan. I mean, it is incredible. We could spend a podcast alone on the nomination form, to your personal achievements, to the so many championships.
I was lucky to play on a bunch of great teams. Seriously, I mean, Red Dog,
Right?
Bucks,
Flash.
Yep. Then it turned into Maxim and then Flashback eventually. But yeah, that's just the major level championships that I had. Before that, I was playing on these Park District teams. I had so many championships with the Crushers, the Pokers, the Chicago Style. I've been so lucky to play on some great teams.
Well, I got to tell you, last week we had another inductee who I'm sure you know, Joe Polito.
Oh yeah,
and Joe, I told him, Joe, you're going to need a banquet hall just because he collects all these jerseys.
He does.
You probably need a banquet hall for the amount of hardware you've collected, like you said, from the national championships to the ASA and just to the local park district.
You know what's funny? I was just talking to Mickey Balestri about it, and it's like, that's not the memories I have. I don't remember a lot of those championships. I remember the players I played with. You know what I mean? I remember all of the teams I played against.
Exactly.
That's the memories that come to mind. There's
Yes.
some memories, especially when like Mickey will bring something up to me. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, somebody will bring something up and I kind of recall it. But most of the time it's just, I just remember the players, the pitcher that I was batting against, or,
Right.
a team that used to, we used to battle back and forth with.
Exactly.
That's my memory.
Mick and Franklin Tina, and of course, Paul, we're all in the audience today. We have a live audience here for Anthony today. And I got to tell you, if you talk to Mick and Frank, they get it down to the 3-2 pitch.
Oh, it's
and
unbelievable.
And if it was raining at Hyde Park.
How do you remember the count?
So it's just, you got
You
to.
just told me a story. It was 1-2. I threw you a fastball outside. I'm like, I don't even remember that.
I didn't want you to say that story.
That's Mick Gillespie in
I
the
popped
background.
up, right? I popped up.
Hey, you popped
But,
that lady on the left field line.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, Ian, you grow up across the street from Brandsburg.
You're familiar with Brands?
Avondale, it's the Avondale
Yes,
area.
absolutely.
You got it, yes.
So, when I was, I don't know, I think I was probably 8 years old, and I didn't even know what softball was. I go across the street to the park, and they have like these, they have floor hockey and basketball, and then they introduced us to 16-inch softball. It was Jimmy Ray and Dave Funkhauser. Those were the two administrators there, and they introduced me to 16-inch softball, and that's all I would do. If I would play 16-inch softball, go play basketball, depending on how many guys were there. You know what I mean?
But the thing about this, I got to tell you, you were 9 years old at this time, right?
Yes, I
When
was
you
young.
first get.
Young.
What did you think about this clincher and everything else? 9 years old. I mean, did you think, okay, watching this, what was your first kind of like?
Well, what most people don't realize, especially the guys that play nowadays, they feel this ball, it wasn't like that. It was closer to that ball. It was
Yes.
closer to that hardness.
Yes.
It was a rock. That's what you remember. And it's like, wait, nobody has a mitt on. You got to catch this in your hands.
With your hands.
Yes, that was the hardest part of the game.
And Anthony, I gotta tell you, and it was always my biggest fear, and I'm sure everybody in this room, the biggest fear was when you were just getting ready, and if, of course, if it was the top of the first and you were the home team, it was like, don't hit it to me, man, don't hit it
For
to me,
sure.
I don't wanna drop that first
I
one.
would rather bat first, soften that ball up, you know, with the hitting, especially, and it goes farther too back in the day.
Right.
But, you know, it was another thing. I loved it playing the outfield. You know, by the time it got to me, it was, you know, it was a little slower
Yeah.
than being in the infield.
Exactly.
How about playing first base?
Okay.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, there's no way, there's no way.
Every first baseman I can remember was this big giant guy with these big huge hands.
Yeah, these
And
mitts, they were mitts.
You had to have them.
Yeah, they were mitts.
You had to have them.
And didn't have the curls in the fingers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, or they had the curls in the fingers. So, these two gentlemen that you brought up here earlier, Jimmy and Dave,
Mhm.
was pretty instrumental in maybe getting it to get that
Absolutely.
passion.
In not just 16 in softball, but everything, but for sure 16 in softball, because like I said, I never played it before. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. You know, we played baseball. My dad got me a mitt and we went and played baseball.
Right.
Then we played catch. And then all of a sudden it's like you're playing catch without a mitt and with this ball, and what a great game. You know, this ball comes in that red box. I'll never forget
The
it.
clincher, yeah.
We would rip that box up and make first, second, third base
Yes.
and home.
Yeah.
That's all you needed. You needed just the ball, one bat, and you could play.
Right.
If you didn't have enough players, right field closed, you know.
Sure. No, without a doubt. Do you remember the first time when you went into, I know you started this at 9, but the organizational part, like a first league. You remember that first Park District League?
I do. It wasn't a league, it was a tournament. It was for younger kids. I can't remember. I want to say it was at Holstein Park. I think it was somewhere around there. It was just like a one-day tournament with like 6 teams. And our park represented one of the teams. And that's basically my first memory of an organized 16 and
How old were you
softball.
then?
10.
10 years, okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
We were
that's
young. Yeah.
that's early on, because sometimes I've noticed with some of the guests and some of the inductees, they're always talking about the teenage years or the high school years. So this is young. I mean,
Yes.
this is one of my first ones where,
Yeah.
it starts off pretty young.
I remember playing in Cub Scouts. We play on, asphalt, asphalt,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right, exactly. And it just, it grows there for
It does. There was a period where it stopped though. Once I got to high school, it was football, baseball, basketball.
Right.
I played football, baseball,
Well,
basketball.
you were pretty much a 3-sport athlete.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I wish I was a golfer back then, but it was just football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at, Paul?
Ball rolling also is the president of our, that's the joke going on between you and Paul. Yeah, because now, once you get to high school, now the commitment level is okay.
Yeah.
And you get coaches that say, you're not playing softball, especially if
Absolutely.
you're playing league
They
ball.
don't want you messing up your timing.
Yeah, instead of doing this or coming
Yeah.
across with the bat.
For sure.
I got the story for you. I think it was that I read. There was a tournament that you were in, and there was a home run derby attached to it.
All right, so that was, yes.
So we got to talk about this.
For sure. This is basically
the lore and the
This
legend.
is basically how I got into the major level, which I had no idea about.
Sure.
No idea. I played in the park districts, just at the park, play with your friends. There was a league there and no idea about major softball. So one of the guys that played at Brands Park on another team, Teddy Sherman from
Yes,
the Raiders.
from the Raiders.
He asked me to go play in a tournament with them in Evanston. Man, I can't remember the name of the park right now. James Park in Evanston. Thanks. Another Mickey Gillespie. I should have him sitting right here. Let me know about my career.
Mick and Franklin Teen are the Googles of the day.
Absolutely.
So,
So I go play and they have a home run derby. And I signed up for the home run derby, and I remember there was a guy pitching to this batter, Mike Tansey, who I didn't know at the time. The pitcher was Wally Peck, so I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Mike Tansey hit about 8 home runs.
Oh, what do you think was Peck's at that time?
Oh my goodness. I was 24.
Okay.
He was probably in his 40s.
Exactly,
He was
right?
Probably in his 40s. Yep. So he gets done pitching to Mike, and I didn't know I thought he was pitching for everybody. He
Right.
walks off and I didn't have a pitcher. So I said, hey, you mind pitching? He just pitched to Mike Tansey, who hit 8 home runs. Can you pitch to me? So he did pitch to me. I remember the first 4 I hit out, then I made an out, then I hit 2 more. Now I'm at 6. And then all of a sudden I started getting this weird pitch from Wally. It was kind of a sidearm type pitch. I didn't realize it.
Or he was gonna muffle you a little bit, right? He was gonna.
Yeah, he didn't know
Right.
who I was. He was pitching to his guy, Mike Tansy. He wanted Tansy to win it.
Right.
I didn't realize it until, later on. But right after the home run derby, Wally Peck comes up to me, and I'll never forget. He grabs me by the shoulders, and he's like, "I'd like you to play with me." And I'm like, "Who are you?" He said, "I play in Red Dog. I play in he told me about the TV league in Forest Park, and I said, "Sure." I never turned down anybody. I played with whoever asked me to
Whatever
play.
he asked you to play.
And that's when I joined Red Dog. He had first game was in Forest Park. It was I don't know if it was a televised game, but he threw me out in center field. I just
And how old were you there now?
24.
24, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, now that.
20,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
24.
So you were all part of that, the early stages of was that the Sunday night games?
Yes.
Yes, those Sunday night
They
games.
did them in was it Forest Park, and then there was another field in Bensonville. I can't remember the name of the field, but it was another field in Bensonville where they did also the video of the games.
Yeah, I remember, and I think it was North and Cashel at their time.
Yes.
Doing it on Sports
Yep.
Channel on Sunday nights, because
Absolutely.
I used to go out there with Billy Finnegan
Yeah.
to watch these games. And I think Billy's in Minnesota now.
On Jefferson Street by the hockey rink.
Yes, right there, right on Jefferson
Yep.
Avenue.
Yep. Bensonville, yeah.
And of course, then you kind of go on to play you were in those tournaments at Hawthorne Park, and what else? It was the team called the Crushers.
Crushers was going on while I joined Red Dog. So now I'm playing with the Crushers every Friday night. That's the guy who ran the Crushers is John D'Antonio.
And that was out of Glenview.
That was Glenview, Flick Park in Glenview.
Right, okay, yeah, I remember
Yes.
that also, right?
Yep,
Right.
yep, yep.
And then you joined, I think, a team called the Bucks.
Well, that's a great story. So
It's not beautiful here. Yeah.
so I didn't know this on how I got picked up by the Bucks. I didn't know the reason, but the reason was this: Jeff Berger was playing against me one time, and he said he hit a line drive in the left center field, and he rounded first, going to second base, and he slid into second base, and the ump told him, "You're out," and he didn't understand why, and the reason was that I caught the ball, and he thought there was no way this guy caught this ball.
Right,
Yes.
right, he just took off.
So then that put the spotlight on me for him on the Bucks, and he after that he came, he talked to me, and he's like, "Hey, you want to join the Bucks?" And I said, "Well, I'm with Red Dog now. If we ever break up, I'm in."
And look at, I mean, like their one door closes, one door opens.
Yes,
Type of
yeah,
situation you're
yeah.
in. But incredible, I mean, and I know this was the way things were done. I mean, teams were always posturing. Is that the correct word?
They definitely were. But you know what? I was a committed person, though. Even with that, when I joined Red Dog, I still made every Crushers game, that I was playing with. I didn't want to, diss those guys that I've been playing with. Same with Red Dog. I told Bucks, I said, I'm not playing with you guys until Red Dog is done. When Red Dog is done, I'll play with you. I love this guys on the Red Dog.
Sure.
I mean, I could probably name them all right now. Seriously, there's so many. Izzy Sanchez, Hall of Famer, Nicky Marchese, Hall of Famer.
Wow, you're bringing up some names.
Stan.
I'll pose a question to you later in this thing.
All right.
That maybe you could kind of.
I might need Mickey's help.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That's gonna come up. And then you were with the Flash, correct?
Right. So that came about when the Bucks finished. It was me, Keith Filkins, and John Woolnick. I don't know if you remember John. John was a monster player. Should be in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully he gets in there soon. But for some reason, us three decided, let's go, us three together, and go play somewhere. And one of the teams that those two wanted to go to was Lettuce. And I convinced them, I'm like, I don't want to play with Lettuce. That's the team that beat our butt every night.
Right.
That was a team that just battled us constantly. I don't want to play with Lettuce.
Lettuce was the Melman.
Yes, Richmond Allman, right?
Melman,
Exactly.
right,
I don't want to play with Lettuce. Let's go find some other team. And then John Eckhart from Flash approached us and said, "Hey, you want to play?" And we had a meeting, and it was like, we met Jeff Hernandez, Ralph Lawrence, Anthony Lococo. There's so many guys.
For sure.
And we had one meeting, and we left the meeting, and we're like, let's do it. We're in.
Is this like from 08 to about?
No, that
It
was
was a little sooner. 2000, about 2004.
maybe 2002.
Right.
Mickey, will help. 2002
Yeah, well,
Flash.
actually started it. We got that team in the nineties, actually. Then you wanted.
He started in the
Started
90s.
recruiting
Yeah.
other players, upper echelon players, and start putting that early 2000s.
Early 2000s, I thought,
And
Mick,
then-
yeah.
I'm thinking
and then he kept
2002.
evolving for a couple of years.
I could tell you what, when was the Arizona? When was Nationals in Arizona? 2002?
In Chandler.
Yeah.
2004.
2004.
I think it was.
Yeah, so
We were
2004.
talking about
Okay,
that,
yeah.
2004.
Yeah, I was trying to go
Told you I
back.
needed making
See, but you remember, but then again, you go on to these five major national championships too, correct? And I think those were in the later 2000 years, which was maybe from 08 to about 12 or even, yeah, I think it was from 08 to 9, 11, 15, 19.
Yeah, yeah, those are major nationals. You know, like I said, those national tournaments, you know, great achievements, but I don't remember them as much as I remember the players that I was playing with and against. That's what I remember the most. It was great winning, don't get me wrong.
No, yeah, no.
You love to win, you love
you
to win the
love-
championships.
Right, right, but like
These guys that I'm mentioning, some of them, I'm still friends with them. We play poker, we golf, you know.
right, right.
They
Now,
become part of your life.
you start out as a center fielder, correct?
Started off in center field.
And how long do you think at that level that you played it dominated that position?
That's a great question.
And you're right.
I think I could have kept playing longer. I think I was probably 35 or 36 when I went into the infield. That was a funny story. I hurt my arm and and I still can hit. So they tried to figure out a position for me and it was second base. It was like the no-brainer. And then so I went from center field to second base. I bounced around shortstop and short center once in a while, but it predominantly was second base for the rest
But you
of my
knew
career.
as the athlete, the guy, okay, this is not the time I gotta make.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But you had dominated the center field era for a long time.
I don't know if I'd say dominate, but I definitely I could hold my own.
Yeah,
Definitely hold my own.
for sure.
I wasn't afraid.
Exactly. If all these teams are calling, for sure, you definitely held your own over the years. And I love asking these guys these questions when I'm here. You know, there's, I mean, great players here in this Hall of Fame. And of course, you get inducted like this couple weeks back. What's the main thing when you're feeling? It's not like we have one Anthony Tyler on the team or one Franklin team or one Balestri. How is it the sync all these great players together over the years? What's the main focus? You know, is it that team concept? We're dealing with a lot of egos, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you mean when I'm playing when that teams like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's
When you're
like,
going from the Parks District guy
yeah,
to this.
there's definitely a lot of egos, but you know what? I think that's a great thing. That's what makes your team better because, you know, when you're playing with guys that you're no longer the big fish in the small pond. Now you're in the ocean here and there's a lot of big fish.
Right.
So what you do is you got to kind of figure out where you're at. And you're just, not only are you competing against a team, you're competing against the players on your team for your position or to get their approval.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
I loved it. I absolutely loved the competition. I love the competition against people and amongst my own teammates.
Yeah, and of course, you know, during the week, you guys all played it, you know, if it was, I would love to calculate the number of games
Oh
in
my
a
goodness.
7-day week. It had to,
Unbelievable.
could we?
I would play 2 or 3 games a night. Some, you know, some of the fields that I played at didn't have lights. So the game would start at 6:30 p.m. It would be done about 7:30 p.m. And then I'd run out to some western suburb that had lights and play a doubleheader there. And that was like on a regular basis. And you know what? When you love it, you just you didn't even think twice about it.
Right.
You just do it. You just, you know.
When you go to look back at it now, man, it's like, how did I do all
Are
that?
you nuts?
Yeah,
Are
you
crazy?
You know, you're running.
Especially now with 4 kids. It's like, oh,
Yeah, how did I find the time to do
Yeah.
that? So, well, we know we'll touch on Francine, a good lady to have in your
Oh,
life,
for
like
sure.
all these good ladies that we have in our lives.
Mhm.
What do you think was the dominance of an Anthony Tyler? Was it his defense? Was it the club? Was it the offense? What made you say, "Hey, I could be now good and bad the dance floor to play with these guys"?
Right. You know what? I think what drove me was my competitiveness. You know, I always, when a situation came up, no matter what it was, I realized the situation I was in, and I'm like, this is where you got to make your mark. This is where you got to get your hit. This is where everybody's got the spotlight on you. You know, you can go 3 for 3, 4 for 4 in a regular league game, which is great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when the spotlight's on you and you're in a national championship or there's a big game, you know, at the Park District for a championship, that's when I felt like I was able to focus the best. And if I didn't get a hit, I definitely hit the ball hard.
Okay.
So I would say out of all of those things, early on, I would say my defense, well, my offense was good too when I was young, but my defense was really good when I was younger. And then as I got older, I think I relied more on my offense for sure.
You know, that's great what you said, because a lot of times I was playing, you know, like Park District ball, like I'd say at a Hiawatha or an Oriole Park, and then I would go out and watch some of these major tournaments. And I couldn't believe when I would go watch, like, say, a guy like a Finnegan or yourself or a Balestri or a Lentine, I could hear guys in the crowd say, yeah, you know what, Balestri does this and does that. And he was already labeled. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this guy's playing at this level. How can he be labeled?
Right.
He just went 10 for 10 in my Park District game, you know, so yeah, thank you for putting it that way, because this game for me, and this is the question for you, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you played 16-inch softball? Yeah, easy game, slow pitch. Yeah, you know, you get, okay. I have watched so many YouTubes now of these past games. So strategic. Would you think I'm using the right word?
Oh, absolutely. There's way more to it. Yes, it's underhand.
Yeah.
It's underhand, but you still got to hit that ball right in the middle. I don't care if the ball is this big or this big. If you don't hit it right in the middle, you're probably not going to get a hit, especially at this level with the defense. You know, I can remember vividly, I was playing against Lettuce, and the first time playing against Lettuce, I was 2 for 2. I hit 2 balls right down the third base line. My third at bat, I come up, I hit a same ball, right, perfect hit right down the third base line. What I didn't realize was they had taken their short center and moved them down the third base line, and I hit it right to them. So that's the difference. The defense makes adjustments to the hitters. So now I had to make the adjustment to the defense. I had to, my game had to get wider. I had to make that field a little bit bigger. I had to learn how to hit the right center. And once I learned how to hit the right center, unless there was a home run fence, John, if there was a home run fence, I didn't care. I would just try to hit it over.
You're going.
I was just trying to hit it over the fence.
Well, I have to tell you, we're going to go back to this because this is great. I was here last week with Joe Polito, and Joe Polito goes, yeah, we don't need home run hitters anymore nowadays. You know, you just need to dump this, that, the game's faster and everything else. If you saw that fence, you'd go for it.
Absolutely, every single time.
Yeah.
We used to play in Mount Prospect, and I don't think I ever didn't try going for a home run over that fence. Even if the wind was blowing in, I would still try to hit it up over the fence. And you know, sometimes when you miss hit it, you get a hump back. You know the hump back, sure, obviously. And you just get that hump back over the infield, and it looks like you were trying to do that. In reality, I was trying to go yard. I was yard. Yes, absolutely.
Call them good misses.
Absolutely, those are good misses, like golf. It's a good miss.
It's a good miss.
But this is great what you said, because you gotta get that.
You gotta square it up.
Square it up, right? You know, you gotta square it up.
Yeah.
Looking at this ball, because it's just like anything else. Like when an announcer in a major league game says, "Yeah, you know, he undercutted it just a little bit," and then we're talking a league ball.
Yep.
So yes, this is where the strategic of this comes into play.
Yep.
What I find amazing with all this, if it's the pitcher, if it's you, the offensive player or the defensive player. Back in that day, we didn't have the YouTube or the Google to say, hey, Tyler only goes to
Right, no.
You know,
There was no spray chart for them.
Right.
You know what the spray chart was back in the day? It was pitchers like Mickey Balestri and Jeff Hernandez and Pat Caputo. They remembered every batter. They knew what they did. They knew what pitch they threw them. You know, that was your spray chart, you know, at that time. So that's what made those pitchers. I never played with like against a Tallow. But, you know, that was one of the things that you hear about him. He just knew every hitter. He knew where to play him. He'd place his defense in the correct positions. He'd pitch them accordingly. And that's what makes him a great pitcher.
Yeah, exactly. And when I've talked to Pat briefly, he's been here a couple times to listen in with like these guys with the live audience. I'm going to kind of go back to the beginnings with you.
All right.
Early mentors, besides the 2 guys you mentioned in the beginning, early mentors that you still talk to this day, or if it was a player that you still looked up to and said, wow, you know, man, I wanted to be like that guy, and you still see him, you know, of course, getting inducted on the 26th, which we're going to talk about, But who were some of those early mentals, ball players, they say, wow, man.
Yeah.
They were something else.
So when I first started playing in the major level, I was with Red Dog. But at the beginning of the year, there was a tournament that one of our guests here used to run, Mickey Balestri. It was at Sox Park. I forgot what he named that tournament.
Jimbo's Crush Spring Classic.
Jimbo's Crush
Spring Classic. All
So
right.
this was one of the first times I started hearing about this Keith Filkins guy.
Okay.
And he happened to be playing on our team. And that was like the buzz. We got Keith. And I'm like, who's this Keith? And finally, they point Keith out to me. And when I saw him, I'm thinking, that can't be him. He's not the most athletic looking. He's a big guy until I played with him. And then you see how smooth he is, not only in softball, basketball, golf. He's a terrific. He was one of the, yes, he was. So in softball, to answer your question, he was one of the guys that, you kind of like tried to mirror yourself at. You watched the little details of, how he picked up a ball and how he thought and how he moved, and great hitter as well. He was a great hitter as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I would say Keith Filkins was probably one of the first guys that really I was just.
And it looked effortless the way Filkins did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, for sure.
But you were the 3-sport athlete.
Yep.
Growing up, where did you go to high school?
Amundsen.
Okay, Amundsen. You graduated from Amundsen.
Mhm.
So you did the football, you did the baseball,
Baseball.
and you did the basketball. Of the three, what was your favorite?
Basketball, without a doubt.
Okay.
Not basketball. So like I was telling earlier, if we weren't playing softball, if we didn't have enough for a softball game, but we had enough for a basketball game, you always got enough for basketball. You need us two, 1-on-1. So that was it. I played basketball. So basketball was my, I could say I loved basketball. I played it every single day, all day, even if it was by myself, just practicing or challenging myself to something. So yeah, I would say basketball. Baseball was a close second. But as you get older, you start finding different sports.
Sure.
And one of them I found was golf.
Okay.
Golf turned into my number one. I wish I could still play basketball.
Is this, do you get out there a lot with the golf?
Oh, nonstop. I have a golf simulator in my garage.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So we go from 7 nights a week to softball to 7 nights a week with that simulator.
Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as I leave here, I'll be golfing.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna put the salt call into Francine.
She loves it. It keeps me away from her.
Well,
It's like a vacation.
and you're hands-on, you're at home.
Absolutely.
You're at home.
Not far. Not far away.
So just in case you gotta do the honey-do, you're
Yes.
right there, yeah.
Yes.
But that is something, all right, I'll ask you this, softball, baseball.
Yeah.
You think you were the better softball player or the hardball player?
Great question. I would
Yeah,
say,
you played both and you played it probably very well, the other one.
yeah, I would have to say, just by accomplishments, I would say softball for sure. Softball for sure. Even though, mentally, I feel like I was a better baseball player, but looking in hindsight of all my accomplishments and, softball for sure, 16 in softball.
I got to play with a guy, and maybe Mick will remember him, and maybe Frank will remember him. I'd like to see where he is nowadays. His name was John Drake. His nickname was Jocko. He was a Park District guy.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Jocko Drake.
John,
Fielder for the Tigers and Frank.
yes,
There
yes.
you go.
And every once in a
I
while,
worked with my guy Dale Mitchell at the Tribune.
yep, every once in a while, he'd call me out and he'd say, listen, if you're not doing something on a Sunday, the Tigers might need a guy to play right field, I'm like,
Right.
oh my God, I'd be shaking, and I'd be shaking over there, and then, of course, that's when I met Bill Finnegan and all these guys,
Mhm.
and I was like, wow, to see this, go back to those Park District days, because I'm the Park District guy who played at the Park District
Yep.
level.
Yep.
You remember a team or guys on that team who,
Oh, my
like,
goodness, yeah.
laid it all on the line,
Oh,
but
for
maybe
sure.
couldn't have played at the level this level, but you remember?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
You remember some names?
So the first team I ever played with was called the Pokers, and a few of the guys on the Pokers were friends of mine in the park, 2 or 3 of us, and then the Pokers were like kind of an older team
Okay.
that picked us up because they saw us playing. They picked us up, and we played with them for probably 2 years, and then we decided we wanted to go younger, and we just wanted all young guys playing, and that was my Chicago style team. And that was a team where it was like, when you build something you're on your own, you know what I mean? When you're looking for that center fielder, the first baseman, and you want to be young as well.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like that was like that was a fun part of my life because a lot of those guys, almost all of those guys, I'm still friends with till today.
Right. And
Yeah.
you could remember probably some of those games, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure. We were in a lot of championship games with that team.
without a doubt. Oh, yeah, that is so cool that you can relate to that. Okay, so this event that just passed, and of course, I love to hear about these events. I'll always come in here and ask everybody, hey, how was it that night? And oh my God, did so and so deserve it? I don't know again how this happens for you. I know how it happened for Polito last week and the others that have, but when you get the call from a committee member here, or you get the call from a Paul Rowan, what goes through your mind now that you've been inducted to the Chicago 16-inch softball Hall of Fame?
It's pretty cool. I can't even
Do you know where you were? I know where Polito was. He was having a taco. Didn't want to answer Rowan's call.
I know where I was. I can't remember what I was doing though. I know I was on my couch and I got the call from Paul, and I kind of knew just getting the call from him that, I saw on the caller ID.
What is
I'm like,
wrong?
This gotta be, I'm hoping this is good news. Do they call guys and say, sorry, you didn't? That would have been bad. So I kind of felt like, it kind of built up, and then he said, I just wanted to let you know you made it in. I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's really cool. So it's a surreal feeling, really. It's like, you come full circle. When you first start playing this game, you're not thinking about Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys all say the same. We're not thinking of it.
You don't
Right.
care about the Hall of Fame at that time. You don't even think about it. But once you stop playing, and then, people notice your career, and then you get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And then the players that not only that I got in with, but the players that are already in there. Now I'm in the same boat as all of these, like I said, these Keith Filkins, Jeff Berger.
Right. You're at the level of these guys.
Right.
It's
Right.
something. I mean,
Izzy Sanchez. And these guys are all still my friends.
Wow.
It's
incredible.
Yes.
I was telling them when I walked in today, I was watching guys coming up to the gentlemen who were running it, Donnie, those guys, cousin Jimmy and Uncle Donnie, they're coming down that red carpet, and I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of cool. Again, you see all these players in that. I know we talked about mentors. I didn't hear your speech that night. I know these gentlemen probably did, but anybody that you left out?
Oh my goodness!
Say thank you.
I left out so many guys. I didn't think I had time. I wanted to tell this story that I told, and I knew I wasn't going to have time to thank people. And I should have brought a list here, because I'm gonna miss a bunch of guys. But one of the main ones that I didn't mention his name was Jeff Hernandez. Jibs, he's a pitcher. He's been my compadre for, I can't even tell you how long, since 2004.
I see that in the bio.
Yes, 2004 when I joined Flashback, we just hit it off. We went to nightclubs together, and Vegas, and he became a friend. We played poker together, and not just softball. And when you do all those things outside of softball, you learn more and more about people. And he was so similar to me. We agreed on almost everything. Everything as far as softball went. And that's when we finally had an opportunity to take over the Flash team, and me and him did, and it was so fun because it was like, I would say something, he'd say yes. He'd say something, I'd say good idea. It was just nonstop. Yes, it was, so he's one of the guys I definitely wanted to thank. Man, you want me to mention all of these guys? There's too many.
Okay, well, I am going to put you on the spot a little bit.
All right.
I've never done this to any of our guests, but I'm going to put you on the spot today because you have led me to this last question.
All right.
You're going to pick 15 guys.
Oh, Jesus.
5 from those Park District days, the guy like me, and 5 and 10 of them from the major. It's your team. You're picking them. You can't put Balestri or Lentina on it because that'll be your own.
All right, so 5 from my
5 from your Park District.
10.
5, of course, 10 on the softball field still, right? And then, of course, the 5 reservists. Who are they?
Holy cow! All right,
You name them off, and please I don't know Mr. Tyler that well. No one get offended.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
the
get
one
offended.
asking the question.
It's his fault. Blame him.
Shoot. Shoot.
All right, so growing up,
Yeah.
one of my best friends growing up for sure, he passed away in a motorcycle accident. It's Frank Felger. He would be one. Joey Rumps, number two. Mike Roski, three. My brother, Nick Tyler, four. And for the fifth one in my neighborhood, holy cow. I'll say Mike Rumps.
Okay.
All of those guys, gamers.
Gamers.
They had the same mentality as me. They wanted to win.
You're
It
going
didn't
to.
matter.
You're
I don't
going.
care how good that team is we're playing. We're going to play and we're gonna, that was those guys. There's so many I missed there. That's his fault. He only
Yeah,
gave me five.
remember.
He only gave
And
me
now you got
five.
10 left.
Holy cow. So Jeff Hernandez for sure.
Okay.
Bobby Russ, Randy Russ, Keith Filkins, Jeff Berger. How many am I at? Five?
Yeah, I think you're at 6 now.
Oh, jeez.
You got 4 left.
Jeez. Ralphie Lawrence.
Okay.
Let's see. Izzy Sanchez.
Okay.
My goodness, what am I at there?
You got 2 left.
That's not good. I probably got so many more.
This ain't the Rose. This ain't the
John-
Bachelor here.
John O'Wolnick. And holy cow, one more.
The drum roll.
Yeah, let's see. Who the heck would I pick? I'm trying to think of another outfielder. I'll say Nicky Marchese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, listen, I got it.
A lot of Hall of Famers.
Oh, wow. I mean, I was getting goosebumps
Right? A
when
lot of
you
Hall
were
of Famers I
mentioning
just
the
met.
names. But I got to tell you, if we had some more time, what a great team that would have been. And of course, that's a team of your passion and your love for these guys. I got to tell you something, and I hope you don't disagree. You are part of this Hall of Fame now. You are part of a saying that I used to use last year after my podcast. You are part of a dominating bunch.
That's a good feeling.
And I gotta tell you something, from that book, every year I'll end it this way, that this is the greatest game on dirt.
Absolutely.
This
I
was a
agree.
pleasure, man.
Thanks, John.
This was a pleasure, and let's do it again.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you here next Saturday. We have another inductee here at Forest Park at the Chicago 16-inch Hall of Fame. We'll see you next Saturday, 2 p.m.